publishing. I know of people who have gone up to Amazon and put up their stories, no, and they get paid. So it's a different era of technology whereby you can have many venues to share what you write. But one thing that we don't have is a culture of literary circles whereby we come together and share. You know, we have tried to put a writers association together. But we Belizeans are so good at doing our little thing separately. You know? We haven't really found that power of coming together and working together. Yeah, we have to work on that. But it would be good to have writers, poets come together and share, like workshop styles. No? Yes, Mr. Leonardi.
The way you have written has always captivated me and intrigued me in a way. And my question is, your writing, is it something that comes naturally, or have you sort of polished it throughout the years? And also, how does your writing serve to maintain the importance of like the elderly in the community?
Very good question. Since I wrote Old Benke, I have never really gone back to reading it. Because whenever I read Old Benke, I find more and more mistakes. And it was my first attempt. And it's the book that has captivated the young people, no? Strangely enough. Mount Carmel High School kicked the book out for a while, then it's been brought back thanks to Ms. Anselma's administration. But when I read Old Benke or I see parts of it, I can say it was that early on in my discipline as a writer. But as I've matured in the art, I can see the progress, no? And it goes to what I said, no? A discipline of exercising the art. And it's, in writing, you don't really just exercise it by writing a story. Writing in itself is an exercise, a discipline, whether you write a letter, a thank you note. That's why I fret when I see our current generation into this mode of texting and social media. That I'm sure, and even in schools, there is no such thing as writing anymore, penmanship. That's been scrapped away, out. So we might be seeing a bygone era of writing that we were used to. So we need to exercise that art. And that is how I have polished it in my work, by writing, not necessarily stories, no? But in any form of writing, you're exercising it. And secondly, your second question, by the mere fact that Old Benke is still read in schools, it shows that there is an intent to keep that oral literature from our forefathers alive. So by the fact when teachers read those stories, it shows that effort to preserve our heritage. So if we look at the Old Benke and see all the lists of the people I interviewed, 99% have passed on, but their words, their stories have remained. So whatever efforts we make to preserve that oral literature is important. And we must remember that things are in the making. Culture is is dynamic. And stories continue to surface, no? Experiences keep being added to what we have. Yes, Mr. Byrne.
I've heard you mention the word inspiration, and say, what I know about writing is that if you wait on inspiration, it will never come. You just have to put the pen to the paper, or put your fingers on the keyboard, and start to write. So what have you your experience in that?
That is so. That is so. If you're going to wait for, the power to come on high, it will come, but you need to exercise the discipline. Somebody from Belize long ago wrote a poem, "When the angel commands, says write, you must write." I don't remember if it's Evan Hyde or... Yes. We must, and that's what the philosopher says, we must put ourselves to exercise that discipline. No? And the inspiration will come. But and that's the reason why it's so important to live the experiences around. No? There are so many things that we could write about. There are so many social issues. And we need to make use of those experiences to put them in writing, poetry, in short stories, in dance. No? And yes, we are all inspired, but we need to put our skills into exercise, our abilities. Yes, Florence.
I want to congratulate you on your work to begin with. You certainly have inspired our community of work. But what advice would you give to persons like, in my field of work, I do a lot of interviews and we're trying to keep our culture alive, and we realize that writing is one of the ways we can do it. But we find that many persons that have folklore stories don't want to work on writing their stories. What advice would you give them? Like myself, being out in the field and trying to encourage them, one of the things they would say, this is my story, I don't want to give it. There's like a fear in them. And the person would say, well, I loaned my notes to a student and I never got it back. So what advice would you give someone like that?
That's a very good question. You see, sometimes we are overwhelmed by negativity. No? We tend to focus on what's negative, and those things bring us down. But there is power in the person, no? And Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian author of so many good books, says, when we want something that is good, it says the whole universe comes together in your favor to make it happen. We just need to desire it to make it happen. And I feel many of us Belizeans suffer from a low self-esteem. And I guess we've had enough of the blame on colonialism. We need to mature and move on, no? But we need to learn to believe in ourselves. And you as an activist can certainly do that job of encouraging people. Now, it could be that maybe having a group of them come together and publish an anthology, you don't have to do it on your own. Come together and produce an anthology. I believe we need to promote these literary circles where people come together and share. I believe libraries are very instrumental in that. No, not only people who are published, but people in the community, young and old, to come together to share their poetry and their stories. And at some point, the way will be shown, for people to move onwards. But we are a very young nation, and there's so much that we can do. It could be done. And Belize is finding its way, still. And that's why we need to come together and make things happen. I don't know if this helps.
Yeah, it does. I'm never giving up.
Yes, and we need to continually document, because if we don't document, we will lose all of this, no? That's why if you're going to share something, make sure you have a copy. If not, we're adept in asking for certain things and never giving it back, no? But we have to document and make copies. And Facebook social media is a very good way of sharing all of this, no? And keeping your copies, no? Somewhere in the clouds. I don't know who will own the cloud eventually, or who owns the cloud, but it's a way of taking care of your work. So thank you very much.